Morning, everyone. I think people scatter in as the morning comes on. We're obviously, first one's never always the best one to be. Thanks for coming to join this session. The fact you're here and not listening to Anne Swain probably means you want to talk about the future of recruitment and also interesting stuff about where we're going in recruitment, because that's all I kind of care about, is what's the next best thing, what is interesting, what's changing the dynamic and improving the way that we operate as recruiters. So I'm going to talk about whether our next hire, when we grow our recruitment agency from where it is now to the next one, or whether when somebody leaves, what do we do? Do we hire another recruiter or do we hire a robot? I'll try and come to, if I get time, I'll come to where this thought process came about, and it was a thought process of a one-man band agency recruiter who in his own little business, and he kind of presented this conundrum to me in a strange sort of way, and so I've kind of bought into it massively, and I'm going to go on from here. So I'm Steve Wood. I've been recruiting for more than half my life, which is scary as hell, because that kind of gives you an idea of how old I am. Equally, for years I've been in recruitment agency land, 22 years in recruitment agency land, to board level, ran my own agency for a while, which was a kind of an experimental digital social media recruitment agency. Been working more in-house the last 3-4 years, just because that's where the demand was for the stuff that I do, which is around talent attraction and digital and talent attraction. And then last month, I joined Candidate ID. I completed the circle and went to technology. And I'm working for Candidate ID, which is a talent pipeline automation organization, a piece of software that does some awesome things, which I'll allude to a couple of those as we talk through, because it kind of marries in with the subject matter, basically. So, So, the doom mongers are telling us that our jobs will be replaced by robots. We're told that AI will kill the recruiter and we've got nowhere to go. What do we do in the future, etc.? Well, these aren't great examples, really, of what that's going to mean, particularly the one on the right, which, if anybody's anywhere near my age group, I used to have nightmares about the Cybermen when I was growing up. So they're not our next recruitment team. But meet Erica. Erica's a little bit more interesting. Erica is a robot in Asia who wowed an audience last year by being able to have a conversation with a human being and respond in a two-way kind of conversation. And all of a sudden we start to think, actually, I wonder if it is possible for robots to do recruitment jobs. But actually, Erica didn't actually know what the interviewer was saying, other than keywords. It was only keyword stuff, so obviously programmed responses to certain keyword responses, etc. So no, Erica is not going to be your next hire either, because that's still not really going to work for us. What about this fella, Data? Anybody a Trekkie? Star Trek? Yeah. I'm not, by the way. I'm just know about this guy. And now he looks a little bit more human than the other ones, strangely. Wonder how that was the case. Looks like he could do with taking in a bit more iron. Look, he's called Data for a reason, which is kind of interesting. And slightly closer to what we're aiming for, but still not really what we're aiming for in our next recruiter. There you go. So, complete robots isn't the answer. We're not talking about robots to replace humans. Let's just get that pretty clear straight away, because they're not going to do recruitment jobs extremely well. But one of the observations that I've found over the recent years of talking a lot to recruitment agency owners and about innovation, about performance, about how we improve our organizations, is that one of the things we sort of got to the agreement was, more often than cases than not, the recruiters tend to operate at about 70% capability. Now, what do I mean by that? Really, in truth, when our recruiters sit behind their desks, they've got limited access to data that really, really matters. We have the same things in front of us that we've sort of always had, really. We've got our jobs coming on, we've got our clients, we've got the candidates who apply for our roles and the candidates that we source. So we tend to work with the things that are within our arm's reach and operate within those circles. And the objective usually is to try and make sure that either one, we've got a greater reach, or two, we understand what is within our reach and know it better to be as efficient as we possibly can. But that doesn't separate us from other recruitment companies. It doesn't make us stand out in the marketplace. It doesn't give us the entire capacity of what we are able to get. We sit with CRMs full of stale and old information. We're packed full of data. Even with GDPR now, we've still got data that we're not using effectively on our CRMs. People probably disagree with me this one. Reactive environment. We actually are in a very reactive environment. We act proactively, but actually our environment is typically in response to the demands of clients and in some cases candidates. Really, our workload is dependent upon what we're given and what we sell and what we succeed in selling. Option paralysis, I love this phrase. If anybody knows Lisa Jones, this is a phrase that she uses quite a lot. I love this idea because this is absolutely a major problem in our recruitment world, in any business world at the moment, is the fact that we've got so many things in front of our eyes now. We live with an internet of so many things, so many distractions, so many options, so many things put in front of us. We've got LinkedIn giving us candidate data like it's coming out of our ears, and business development data like it's coming out of our ears, as well as our CRM, as well as social media, as well as all the other things that distract us in life and create so many options that we don't really know where to start first. That's kind of a copy of the first one, but limited access data. And we're working off, our sales activity really comes from quite limited resources because we're working off the data we have, the information that we have in our system, and that's giving us our insights as to where and who we should be selling to and how. Plus, very quickly on this slide, inefficiency. We're actually really inefficient organizations. I'd love to see people who would say that their recruitment organization is a highly efficient organization, but actually the core of recruitment is actually quite inefficient. We source hundreds of candidates every week. We contact candidates every week with a very small amount of successful outcomes. It's just a behavior of recruitment. It's just sort of what we do and what we've always kind of done. And job adverts, every time we get a job, we stick it out on 3 or 4 job boards and invite a lot of people to apply to be unsuccessful for jobs. We will probably hire somebody at the end of it, but of course what we instantly then would do is create a funnel that means we have to reject a lot of people. Yes, we get our hire, fingers crossed, but we also create a great amount of negativity. It's not an efficient process. Job advertising never has been, typically. We're dependent on highly active candidates. We spend a lot of our time responding to candidates who need a job. Now, I know that sounds quite simple. We're recruitment agencies. We need to be able to respond to candidates who need a job. But everybody else is as well. The active candidates, as we all know, unless we're getting really, really, really sharp with our candidate ownership, okay, but generally we're dealing with candidates that are also registered with other recruitment agencies, that are direct applying for jobs. So again, our candidate activity, albeit successful in its basic format, is actually also a largely inefficient process. We spend a lot of time with candidates we cannot place and do not place. And obviously our cold sales methodology is a numbers game. And anything that's considered to be a numbers game is generally a low efficiency exercise, even if it produces the outcomes that we ultimately want. So so many actions are based on instincts and immediacy rather than insights. We're thinking about things. The instinct thing is something that we often see as a really good, positive entity in recruitment, and it is, the guts, the feel. But actually we do a lot of things without considering data and insights and knowledge first. So maybe we need a little bit of help. This is one of the things that, and I think this encapsulates the option paralysis thing. Anybody here who runs a recruitment agency, have you uttered these words? Why is everybody staring at screens all day long? We get so pig sick of people staring at screens. So why are they spending so much on their screens? I genuinely think it's this. They just don't know who to call. We sit, and that's where the option paralysis thing comes in. We have got so much information with them, and I've done it. I've been there. I've done it where you click through another application or another LinkedIn profile that we've sourced, and we can't prioritize who we should and who we shouldn't call. So we just take them all bit by bit, and then we go through vacuums where we just don't see anything for a while. But it's recruitment, right? It's what we do. It's just part of what the nature is. But actually, if we really strip it back, one of the things I've always observed, it's very highly inefficient, the process in which we operate with, just because of numbers and option paralysis. So I've always kind of considered this. Why do we make recruitment so hard? It's almost trendy. I see people on LinkedIn doing their kind of like, oh, do you know, I've been working 14 hours today running my recruitment business. I've been all those hours under the sun. It's hard being a recruiter. I hate that phrase. It's hard to be a recruiter. We make it hard because we make it hard for our recruiters to do the job easily with a degree of grace and finesse and natural network capability and connection with our marketplace. We make it like this. And it's sort of come from, I guess, an era where we wanted to, I don't know, prove ourselves or whatever else it might be. But recruitment doesn't have to be this hard. So I'm going to use a kind of scenarios really with this whole kind of where the automation element comes into recruitment. So what if data came to us? So let's use a kind of a real sample scenario, a kind of just some rudimentary numbers to kind of give us a bit of an idea of what we're looking at here. So let's say recruitment team of 10 people in our organizations. Let's say it's one chunk of your organization. It might be the whole of your organization, whatever else it might be. But let's just take 10 recruiters that we're pretty happy with. We're pretty happy with their work. They produce a nice amount of income without it being special. It doesn't matter about the numbers, really. What we're just saying is these people who look after themselves just fine. 10 recruiters, on average, they do, over the course of a year, they'll do, on average, let's say 15K, just to put numbers into the pot. So we're not talking about super high performers, but we're not talking about people who can't pay their way. Let's just keep it in this middle area just for the purposes of a thing. So they're operating at this. They're profitable, they're doing okay for your business, they're earning bonus, etc., albeit at 70% capacity because of the limited data they've actually got available to them and the environment in which they operate in. So there you go, 10 recruiters producing 15K a month. So you know you've got 150K a month coming out of these recruiters month on month. So probably a good time to hire another recruiter because actually that means we're making some reasonable profit. The workload is probably sufficient now that we can move on and get recruited. That's what we do. We go and find, and so we go and hire another recruiter to do the same as what these other 10 guys and girls are doing, and then and somewhere between 3 and 6 months, they're up to speed with the other recruiters, and now you've got 11 recruiters all doing 15K a month, again, on average. Some will go up, some will go down. I don't want to get into the variables, but in rudimentary sense, you've now got 165,000 a month team of people. So we're going in the right direction. We're keeping on a nice kind of level, but we're able to hire new people because we've got a thing that's going. So we've now got 11 people doing the same thing and getting the kind of similar sort of results. And that's how we do it. We just keep layering on top because it works. It works absolutely fine. But what about a recruit? Oh, hello. So what about if we brought data? What about if we brought automation and the robot into it? So what if instead of a recruiter, we hired a piece of automation technology? Now, not to do recruitment. Let's get this clear. An automation machine of any kind can't make sales calls. It's not great at candidate interviews, to be fair, as we found with Erica. Probably going to get some of the wrong answers. They're not going to negotiate fees with your clients. They're not going to attend events on your behalf and get your PR and stuff out there in that respect. But what we have to consider in the journey of talent attraction and business attraction is what can we automate? What takes time that doesn't instantly make fees and actually creates weight of unnecessary stuff on our recruitment shoulders? So marketing performance. If we can automate the performance of our marketing, if we can understand the success and failure rate of our marketing activity and our digital activity, if that is all tracked already, then we don't need somebody to do it for us. If we can just pull off a report that tells us all sorts of stats, then we're in good. That's something that our recruiters should then not have to worry about too much. Content distribution. We do a lot of this. We do a lot of content distribution. But are we doing it in the right place? Are we doing it with insights, or are we just putting it out there because it seems like the right thing to do? CRM data reignition. So our data, the reason our data gets so old and tired and stale is because we allow it to stay that way. And it's because it's a massive exercise to bring it back to life again, to reignite it and bring it to life. But what if you could do that in an automation kind of way? What if your website visit data could be automatically tracked? Not just numbers, but what about identifying human beings that sit on your website? So you know exactly the success of every page on your website and what drives top candidates and clients and what doesn't. Social media performance, how successful our social media posts are. What about if you could automate lead generation? So when something happens out there in the digital sphere that you need to know about, not just scraping the internet to try and find out that somebody changed a profile on their LinkedIn, so therefore that must mean that they're looking for a new job. It doesn't work like that. What if they're actually doing things that imply that they are looking for a job on your careers page? What if you could automate real-time digital data insights and notification of those people who are hire ready at any given time? All of a sudden, what we've got here is information that you don't need a human. A human just needs to collect this data and information and know what to do with it. They don't need to farm for this information because our friend data is doing it. Automation, whoa! Oh, a very hyperactive clicker. So this is the scenario now. The aim of the data, the aim of the automation, the aim of the stuff that is more efficient for automation to do than humans to do means that it allows our recruiters to not operate at 90% capability, but operate at, say, 90% capability. We can't quite get perfection, it'd be quite nice, but what if we're giving them so much data, enrichment, and information and knowledge, and taking away some of the time of all the stuff that they really shouldn't be doing, the stuff that doesn't really make them placements at the human end of the equation. If we instead of hiring that 11th person could say, right, we're going to equip our 10th person with a robot, a piece of software, a piece of automation that will give them the insights to be 90% capable. 90%, if we can improve our capacity from 70% to 90%, the uplift in monthly billing for those people, again in rudimentary sensors, but obviously if you've got more time, more capability, and the option to do more things with more intelligence, if we've raised the capability level, if we're making it easier for them to make hires and placements, then that 15,000 turns into 19,285, which then times 10 recruiters becomes 192,850 per month on a monthly scale. So we added the 11th person, and we got to 165. Hello, Jeff. Hey. So if we had a recruiter, we get to that. If we had a piece of software, if we had some automation technology, we get to that. That's 38,000. The additional monthly bit on top, instead of being 15,000 on top, is almost 43,000 on top. Rudimentary, obviously we're talking simple numbers here just to explain a point. But it comes back to the thing about what our recruiters do between a period of time in the week and their hours in a week. What is efficient and what is inefficient? What is required for the human mind and what is required through a degree of automation? Thank you very much. Much nicer. So, unbelievably, automation and the robot element of this, it's got to rattle this one, outperforms your new recruiter. Not because it replaced recruiters, but because it augmented recruiters. It created the opportunity for your recruiters to do more with the things that they're best at. And furthermore, we're just talking simple numbers there. I'm just adding some numbers up in a very rudimentary way to kind of explain simple metrics. But we've also saved the recruiters a whole bunch of time doing the kind of things that they really shouldn't be doing, that actually get in the way of the real kind of fee-earning kind of stuff. So imagine what they could be doing, the amount of more candidate and client quality conversations they can be having as a consequence. Time to shortlist reduced by half. That's not I'm using candidate ID metrics there. That's what customers of Candidate ID say the time it takes them to find the shortlist whether it's a hiring manager or whether it's an agency client, is reduced by half. You spend less time faffing around looking at cold profiles, more time talking to people who actually want a job, and more people, because they've got the data and knowledge to recognize who those people are by name, not talking about by numbers and web scraping. Of course, the effect on the agency brand is enhanced because, of course, we're doing less cold stuff. We're annoying less people who aren't looking for a job. We're working out who the people are who are looking for a job and who the people are who are not, and then prioritizing our communications to the people who are or are showing signs of it. Therefore, the candidate experience is improved. And this is, I used to do so much stuff around social recruitment and digital recruitment. And the one thing that people used to always say to me was, where's the ROI, Steve? Where's the ROI in producing a blog and putting it out there on LinkedIn? Where is the ROI? And you could sort of go, well, it always drives traffic, it always drives, and it's good for the brand, it's good to get stuff out there. We now live in an age whereby a single social media post out on wherever it is you want to post you can track the journey of human beings who go from that post all the way to your website and hit the apply button on your website. Now, if that's not ROI from content and social media stuff, nothing is. They're all falling apart. And even better, automation technology costs less than a human being. There are sometimes the same, and they're a lot less hard to deal with and manage on a day-to-day basis. Don't need any training. You'll get to that 15K level a lot faster because they don't need to learn how to do the job. And things like job boards, you'll use less as well. So from an expenditure point of view, you're not using the things that you would do normally as often as you would normally do because you don't need to go out cold to market with a new role as often because your first thing is to go to data, go to knowledge, go to candidates who are active by the insights you're given. This is where it comes into this. So just from a kind of a sales and marketing funnel-y kind of look at it, sorry, I'm really struggling with this mic. In the attraction funnel, the reality is these days our poor recruiters now spend a lot of time at only one end of this attraction funnel because they can do a lot of research before they need to talk to us. They don't need to pick up the phone, they look at our websites, they have a little look on our LinkedIn profiles, they make a judgment with their feet before they want to pick up the phone. It's why barely anybody picks up the telephone anymore, because they don't need to. They can research you first. So what this means is, the dynamic shift is, we have to recognize that in the attraction funnel, there's where the largest amount of data is, where the largest amount of numbers and candidates and client data exists, try and get your recruiters to have nothing to do with them whatsoever. Get them out of the way of this area, because the funnel, if this is a candidate funnel, there's probably, depending on your recruitment organization, there could be anywhere from 5,000 to 500,000 in this funnel. So how on earth can your recruiters keep up with the wider part of the funnel? And why should they, if actually they don't really want a job anyway? So what's the point? So why are we wasting all of our energies in this kind of area? This is where we should be focusing our recruiter time. Allow marketing, data, and automation to manage volume, to drive what we call nurturing, drive traffic, drive engagement, drive awareness, and bring them to our pages where we can recognize where they are on our website and our social media activity, and then trigger your recruiters to get involved at this point here in the consideration phase, when they're at the point where you can see that they are having a look seriously at your recruitment agency and whether they should be doing business with you in any kind of way or other. If you can capture recruiters here, so it's not about just here, but if your recruiters can get the data and insights right there, right at the moment, that prime candidate is looking at your information, fishing around there, but hasn't shown their cards yet. They haven't told you they're looking for a job. If you can capture them there, that, in my opinion, is the only USP recruitment agencies have. First access to candidates. If you can access your candidate market, the prime candidates in your candidate market, before your competition, before they've even bothered to make their CV, then you're in business. If you know who those human beings are who sit right there, then you've got competitive advantage. So, very quickly, automation drives competitive advantage. So wake the dead. The actions I suggest you do, candidate ID or otherwise, but it's easier to do with candidate ID. I'm obviously working on behalf of candidate ID. Wake the dead. Take existing CRM data and bring it to life. You can do it inside 4 weeks. most recruitment agencies who do this campaign, we've had between 4 and 19 hires in the first month as a consequence of taking data that already existed in our CRM, pack in the job board advertising, pack in the cold sourcing on LinkedIn, take the data you have, bring it to life. It's good for GDPR as well, by the way. I had to say it, didn't I? I had to say GDPR. And bring it to life. Know who's researching what on your website. Understand the difference between the two. The only USP you have is first access to talent. Real-time live data means the ability to operate at speed, but also with knowledge, intelligence, and drive operational efficiency, supercharge recruiters ahead of the game. Nobody wins between robots and recruiters except the recruiters have been better equipped because of the robot automation intervention. Oh, I'm missing a thing. It says hire a robot today. Thank you very much. That's me.